I just went to Cleveland recently. I have
Really?
investment in a daycare center there, 3, and so I went there to help to create a new type of curriculum that will help young people early on begin to develop the communication skills that I think that's very important in becoming successful in life. That's major, your mindset, but also to have a value for life, that we see so much violence as children. They said over 200 acts of violence when children are raised in a culture. And the study that was done by Dr. Seligman in the book called Learn Optimism, the 26-year most exhaustive study on self-esteem said that between the ages of 0 and 5, that we develop permanent personality characteristics that follow us for the rest of our lives. And so I wanted to develop a curriculum that would teach children that life has value and that your life has value, to change their vision of themselves and to interrupt how they see themselves based upon being in a hostile culture. This is a hostile culture for people of color. And so, to me, one of the most important things to help people to overcome the psychic disrepair is creating a curriculum early on, and what we talk to parents about, that our children are molding today what they will be in the future. When I was a kid, I was born in an abandoned building on a floor with my twin brother Wesley, and we were adopted. When I was 6 weeks of age, I was labeled educable, mentally retarded when I was in the 5th grade. They put me back from the 5th grade into the 4th grade. I failed again in the 8th grade. I have no college training. So being identified and labeled as DT, the dumb twin, it gave me a lot of things to overcome. And one of the things that Dr. Seligman said, that when you are between the ages of 0 and 5, a word is formulated in your heart. That word is yes, or that word is no. So when you're raised in poverty, that vision of yourself, that culture, those circumstances, those conversations, those things that you observe, they begin to create the lenses from which you see the world. And so to overcome that it's a major, major challenge. They did a study of some top achievers and successful people around the world, and they wanted to find out what was the common denominator among them that enabled them to reach their goals. And what they discovered, that 85% of them reached their goals because of their attitude, their vision about themselves, and 15% because of their aptitude. So school, as you know, has been focused on reading, writing, and arithmetic. It does not consider critical thinking and conceptual education, and it does not help young people begin to mold a vision of themselves that will allow them to be an asset to our society rather than a liability. In fact, particularly when it comes to children of minorities, one of the things that the school systems do, they track and determine based upon the failure rates of African American children and Latino kids in the 3rd grade. Based upon those failure rates, they determine and extrapolate from those numbers how many prisons they're going to build. So if you can track failure, you can also track success. So when you come up in an environment that is, one, designed to destroy your sense of self, and 2, give you and provide for you an inferior education. Like when I came up in school at Booker T. Washington High School, the money that was allocated to educate kids on Miami Beach and Coral Gables versus Booker T. Washington High School, it's just tremendous difference. And when we got books, we got the old books that were 5 and 6 years old, written in, pages torn out of. And when they gave the test on the new books that we never got, and they said that we were inferior, we believed them, because the newspaper said so, and we bought that. And so one of the worst things that you can do is provide an environment and get people to buy in a lie about themselves and cause them to live a small life as opposed to a life of achievement, because the culture is designed to hold us back. When I graduated from high school, a white high school dropout had more of a chance of getting a job than a black college graduate. So that kind of environment destroys your sense of self. My mother was working for a very wealthy family. She worked for wealthy families on Miami Beach. And I remember Mrs. Swiderski. She cooked for these families, and we ate the food left over from the families that she cooked for. She kept their children, and we wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that she worked for. And when I had the assignment of cleaning Mr. Swiderski's office and shining his shoes, and he was listening to various motivational recordings. This is reel to reel. This is before 8-track and before cassettes. And those words I had no idea while I was shining his shoes, listening to people like Jim Rohn. When the end comes for you, let it find you conquering a new mountain, not sliding down an old one. People like Zig Ziglar, if you give enough people what they want, they will give you what you want. Listening to some of the words of Winston Churchill, the truth is incontrovertible, malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but at the end, there it is. And so I had no idea, while shining his shoes, listening to these words, that it began to restructure my vision of myself. How people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. I train speakers how to discover their story, how to tell their story, and how to transform people individually and collectively by creating an experience. When I came into the speaking industry, it was based upon the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill's book was a good book, and they considered that the Bible of the motivational speaking industry. Well, I come to know because of my mentor, Mike Williams in Columbus, Ohio. He wrote the book called The Road to Your Best Stuff. He said, Les, if information could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. So he said in order to change people, you have to create a significant emotional event, that you have to interrupt a person's story that they believe about themselves with your story. And through the delivery of your story strategically, you dismantle their current belief system and inspire them to make new choices. Because at the end of a presentation, if you don't change how a person sees themselves, and if you don't expand their vision of themselves beyond their mental conditioning and their circumstances, and begin to allow them to get a larger vision of themselves and begin to ignite their spirit, you touch their hearts, and as a result, they leave your presence feeling better about themselves, but making new choices, because when you change how they see themselves, all you have to do after that is to get out of the way. One of the things that I spoke the other day, and I wanted this group of people that I was talking to, I wanted to challenge them to get outside of their comfort zone and to become uncomfortable with where they are. There's no saying you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. However, if you know how to speak strategically and create a special moment, you can create a thirst where they want to drink. And so when I got to the end of my presentation, I looked at them and I said, right now I want to talk to you about Dr. Howard Thurman, who was one of the mentors of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Albert Schweitzer and Mahatma Gandhi. And when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer and my PSA was 2,400, I was pondering about my life. Am I going to beat this? And I was reading his words for comfort, and he said, the ideal situation for a man or woman to die is to have family members praying with them as they cross over. But imagine, if you will, being on your deathbed and standing around your bed, the ghost of the dreams, the ideas, the abilities given to you by life, but you, for whatever reason, you never pursued those dreams. You never acted on those ideas. You never used those gifts. And there they are looking at you with large angry eyes saying, we came to you, and only you could have given us life. And now we must die with you forever. And the question is, if you died today, what dreams, what ideas, what gifts will die with you?